Welcome to this meeting of the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission, March 9th, 2022. The meeting notice was posted according to the requirements of the Open Meeting Act. The meeting will now come to order. Can you call the roll, please?
First Congressional District Commissioner Kevin Potter. Second Congressional District Commissioner David Conway.
Here.
Third Congressional District Commissioner Charles Ortega.
Here.
Fourth Congressional District Commissioner Lindy Ritz.
Here.
Fifth Congressional District Commissioner Blake Rainey.
Here.
At-large Commissioner Jim Putnam.
Here.
At-large Commissioner Chairman Jerry Hunter.
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. The draft of the minutes of the January 26, 2022 meeting was sent to you yesterday, and a copy is in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes as distributed? If there are no corrections, I will accept motions to approve the minutes as distributed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway.
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam.
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next order of business is item 4, staff longevity recognition, Director Arties and Sandra Shelton. Sandra's being recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are at that moment in time, probably the most important agenda item that we have today. Sandra Shelton has turned her public service, or her public service has turned 25 years old, which means she's just now 29. But I do want to read this commendment from the governor and read that to the public. Sandra Shelton, the state of Oklahoma salutes Sandra Shelton for 25 years of faithful and dedicated service to the citizens of Oklahoma. Public service requires continuing commitment and dedication to the needs of the people of Oklahoma. The very effectiveness and efficiency of state government depends in large measure on the hard work and perseverance demonstrated by state employees. In recognition of the effort, contributions, and commitment to excellence of Oklahoma State employees, I hereby publicly commend you and say congratulations on a job well done. Governor of the State of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt. Can we only imagine what it would have been if all 25 years would have been at the Aeronautics Commission? We would be on the moon having this meeting right now. So, Sandra, and I am not even going to try and pin that on you, but here's your 25-year pin. Do you want to say some remarks?
Sure.
Commissioners, thank you so much for this recognition. 25 years ago, I applied for a job at the state capitol as an executive assistant, well, legislative assistant in the House of Representatives. And the interviewer said, you're going to have a lot of constituent work to do. And I said, I'm happy to do that. And I had to go back to my office and look up the word constituent. And so I have been bluffing my way through state government for the last 25 years. But I do want to say what a privilege it's been to serve my state. And someone saw something in me 25 years ago that I did not even see in myself. And from that, they nurtured me. And then 6 years ago, I was hired by the Aeronautics Commission to help make aviation and aerospace popular in the state, at the state level and nationally. And I'm so proud that Vic believed in me and that Director Arties continues to believe in me. And I'm so happy to serve. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for the recognition.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, would you come down for a photograph opportunity?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, item number 5, approval to fill a position. I think as most of you know, Nick Young has got himself a new, where's Nick? There's Nick. has himself a new title and has been doing some diligent work over the last 3 or 4 months as our airports division manager. As you know, that was a role I once had many years ago before I happened to be here where I am today. And Nick wanted to get his feet wet, get his feet on the ground, so we were just asking for permission to fulfill the vacant position that he left behind at the aviation program manager role. I'll stand for any questions, but staff recommends approval.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to approve filling the vacant aviation program manager position?
Move
Aye.
approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. The next order of business is item 6, Director's Report. Director Ardis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a busy couple of months since our January meeting. We've been experiencing the good weather and the bad all alike, and hitting around the speaking circuit quite a bit here in the start of 2022. I was able to speak at the Oklahoma Association of Career and Technical Education, their STEM Midwinter Conference. I did my best Paula Keaty impersonation as she was off speaking at another event on that same day. Talking to career tech and those educators about the AOPA curriculum, just about aviation aerospace in general, and the important role that they play in ensuring our workforce is able to serve the needs of aviation aerospace, not just in our state, but across the country. Great response. Had a long line of people coming up to me after I was able to speak and discuss with them all the different potential options, whether it's the OAC grant program, the AOPA high school curriculum, the Choose Aerospace maintenance curriculum, you name it. There was a great opportunity. We had a lot of other speakers out there talking about aviation aerospace, as you heard Sandra say in the previous agenda item. Aviation aerospace is getting cool. A lot of due to her work, but a lot of effort just across the state. It's becoming neat, it's becoming exciting, and everybody wants to take advantage of it, and it's a good thing for Oklahoma. Followed that on February 1st with the Oklahoma OMACAMP Wind Farm Tour and Steering Committee. As you know, this is the long-running project for our military training airspace. It's the DoD grant we received. Obviously, we kicked off in the middle of COVID. We weren't able to have any in-person meetings. We had our first in-person meeting there on February 1st and took a tour of the wind farm down by Chickasha. And experience both the military side and the wind energy side. And we're getting close to wrapping that project up, and hopefully we'll have a finished product with a website and a technical report ready for you and the public sometime the first half of the current calendar year. So hopefully sometime the next 3 or 4 months we'll be able to do that. And we know this is important to our military. I'm happy to report, and I reported this in that meeting, that the relationship between wind and military is never been better than where it's at today. I won't say it was ever terrible. We had our bumps in the road, but today we are in a good, harmonious position where I think we can all live together. Obviously, Commissioner Ortega knows that quite well, given some of the things that we've experienced over the last 3 or 4 years. And so great to see the culmination of this study and hopefully be able to live together moving forward for the next 5, 10, 20 years on behalf of all Oklahomans for all industries. Oklahoma Commanders Summit, this is something that the commanders here of our DoD installations have gotten together and done over the last probably 4 or 5 years. And it really is a good opportunity for all the military commanders, especially because they rotate out so frequently. Every 2 years, if we're lucky, we may get to hang on to one for 3 or 4, or they may get lucky enough they rotate from one base to another base in state. But this is an opportunity for state leaders like myself, like the Aeronautics Commission, like our Strategic Military Planning Commission, the Secretary of Military and Veterans Affairs, to all get together and present to our federal military leaders of here is what the state of Oklahoma is doing for you, and then also to hear from our military members, what do you need the state of Oklahoma to do more to support you in your mission and be able to succeed. Obviously, my position and the thing that I speak most on, at least in the last 4 or 5 years, has been on that military airspace piece. But we know workforce is a big deal as well, and I was able to hit on workforce and some of those things that we are doing with our various curriculums and trying to promote that throughout Oklahoma. At the end of the day, all the generals, the colonels, the base commanders, the senior enlisted folks were able to understand and hear the message from the state of Oklahoma that we want to do everything we can to support you, and we want to be able to help in any way that we can. And there's several pieces of legislation moving through the Capitol right now to support our military friends. Nothing really specific for aviation aerospace, but just general military retiree support, so on and so forth. And so they're glad to hear that and were able to send a letter to the governor, the speaker, and the pro tem, identifying their message and what they want to see, and that is the continued support from the state of Oklahoma and the entities that they have. On February 14th, went to the Tulsa Air and Space Museum. Tanya up there had a great meeting of a lot of the aerospace leaders in Oklahoma. As you can see there, I was able to speak. I don't know if anybody here has been to the Tulsa Air and Space Museum, but I highly recommend it. It's a great facility up there on the northwest side of the Tulsa International Airport. This was also kind of a kickoff for one of their capital campaigns that they're trying to do some expansion and some development opportunities to enhance the museum's offerings. Spoke after Congressman Kevin Hern and before Commander John Harrington, which was the keynote speaker. And I just kind of gave the state of aviation aerospace as it stands today to the community leaders of Tulsa that were there in attendance. February 16th, State Chamber Legislative Reception. As Sandra has told you in the past, this is one of the marquee events for getting together with state leaders in the private sector, our legislators, and had a great opportunity to meet and greet a lot of people at the legislative reception on February 16th. My compadre, Jeff Camp, who runs the ACES program at the Department of Commerce, and I went to tour the new Oklahoma State University Flight Training Center. I think some of you all have seen that. If you've been up to Stillwater, seen it maybe in the news, beautiful facility. I am very personally jealous of the facility. But amazing facility that they were able to open up, about a $6 million cost to bring about their new flight center at the south side of the Stillwater Regional Airport. And I know a lot of other aviation programs are a little envious and looking forward to seeing how can they move forward and do something similar at their location. So great opportunity there, and I know Sandra and Paula went to the actual grand opening for me on that Saturday. So thank you for that, and thank you to Oklahoma State University for leading to ensure that we're going to have that next generation of pilots, aviators, maintenance technicians, and other employees that are going to be needed to support this great industry. The Advanced Mobility Advisory Council meeting happened February 23rd. Great meeting. We had Tyler Powell with Kodiak that was there talking about their new technology. Obviously, this is advanced mobility, so it's both air and surface and technically water. We haven't gotten to the autonomous water area yet. But Tyler Powell was here to talk about Kodiak Robotics and the company that's developing an autonomous fleet of trucks and what they're doing in Texas. Really pretty neat stuff. They've got a pretty great concept. They're already doing some autonomous testing both in Texas and now trying to move that into Oklahoma and some other states in the region. And I know that's going to be a new technology. And as this all comes about, is how can we have the full mix of air, ground, water, from point to point transportation for all kinds of things, whether it's something that's doesn't need to be rushed in shipping or whether it's something that needs to get there in the next hour. Every role of transportation is going to play its important piece to getting goods and services and people from point A to point B. Went back out to the Engineers Flying Club on March 1st to give them an update. I know Commissioner Rainey and I hit up the Engineers Flying Club last year about this same time to talk about Aeronautics Commission. This time I talked a little bit about how can they get involved in aviation aerospace advocacy. Your team here at the Aeronautics Commission does a good job. We have other entities in state government that do good jobs for supporting, advocating for aviation aerospace, but we need to get as many people on the team sitting on the bench ready to go in and play in this game of aviation aerospace advocacy, because it takes a village to be able to get to where we've gotten today, and it's going to take an even bigger village to be able to see us succeed moving forward into the future. So great opportunity to talk to those engineers, talk to those members of the Engineer Flying Club, which I think they had about 35 or 40 that particular day. And then lastly, we had our National Association, NASEO's annual legislative conference, March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That was a virtual offering. I'm expecting that next year we'll be able to go to DC and visit with our leaders on the particular topics, but had a great offering of everything was being discussed on aviation aerospace, from drones to how do we fix, the 737 MAX issues, to fuel taxes, to how do we ensure that we have a long-term stream of investment in our airport infrastructure, to how do we solve our workforce challenges and ensure that we have the continued workforce that this industry needs to be able to be successful. And of course, everybody's eye on the prize, or I guess you might say the DC prize of what's the next FAA reauthorization package going to look like. And we know that's coming up. The current reauthorization ends in '23, so we know that's going to be on everybody's minds, is how do we craft the next reauthorization package, and how can we ensure that we don't have continuing resolutions like we've had in the past. At the end of the day, we had one situation, I think it was between the 2008 and 2012 reauthorization packages, where we had enough CRs that continuing resolution process could drink. We had 22 CRs. And so we don't want to go through that process, because that stymies our federal investment in airports, and then obviously throws all kinds of kinks into our state processes as well. So that is the director's report, Commissioners and Mr. Chairman, but I will stand for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Grayson. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? If not, next item on the agenda is item 7, legislative, congressional, and regulatory update. Sandra Shelton.
Thank you, Commissioners. In your packet, I'm not sure if you have this document. I think you do. It's the 2022 Aviation and Aerospace legislation. And this year, 4,840 bills were filed or carried over from the start of last session. 3,398 died after the March 3rd deadline. There are 1,442 bills remaining that are alive. Currently, we are in the House of Origin process. So about the first 3 weeks of session is the committee process in the House of Origin. So many of our bills, we start in the Senate because of our champions, Senator Rosino, Senator Pugh, and we also have champions in the House, though. And so the House of Origin has heard those bills. The committee deadline was last week. And on the last day of the committee process, the Aeronautics Commission had Senate Bill 258 heard, which removes the cap placed on our aircraft excise tax. We've waited 5 years for this, Commissioners, just 5 years. And so we had a great visit with Senator Thompson, and Senator Thompson allowed that bill to be heard. And then also there was a commercial air service bill that was not going to be heard, and our friends from Tulsa assisted us in getting that a hearing, and it did pass committee, and it had no nay votes. Neither of those bills had nay votes. So the bills that we're watching is Senate Bill 258. So on your cheat sheet there, if you want to follow along, that again removes the cap. It's important for us to continue to foster and encourage the legislature to see that through. The title is off the bill. I'm hoping that they will restore the title on the floor so it will be a live round when it goes to the House of Representatives. Senate Bill 1147 was a bill filed by Senator Zach Taylor from Shawnee? Yeah. Seminole, okay. I knew I was close. And Senator Taylor is a pilot, and he's at the Seminole Airport, and his family has a business there. And so this is an aviation core credit, and it permits the Department of Education to allow our aviation curriculum that Ms. Kitty worked so hard on to become a core credit. So I'm sure Paula can speak to that during her presentation. But Senator Taylor filed that just to make sure the Department of Education that has the ability to make that a core credit in state statute. Senate Bill 1461 is the Oklahoma Air Service Development Grant Program, and Senator Rosino did a great job. And by the way, you can watch these debates, these things. If you ever have an interest in that to see what the debate was, Senator Rosino did a great job defending it, and so hopefully we're looking for an appropriation for that. Director Arties will be negotiating with Senator Thompson and the House of Representatives about an appropriation for that, and the support from the Tulsa Chamber is emphatic, and so we appreciate that from them. And Senate Bill 1830 is a cleanup bill from last year's advanced mobility pilot program that was passed, and I don't have too much to add to that. It's just cleanup language on that. And There is another bill, House Bill 3171, that is a UAS bill that we're watching, and I'm going to visit with Representative Phillips this week about this bill. It's a privacy bill, so we've seen some of those before. So I would stand for questions on any of those items. But also, I want to tell you that this week they are voting to close the ARPA portal. So the ARPA committee will be voting on that this week, and I think that they're looking to close that in the next 3 weeks or so. Commissioner Ortega, would you agree with that? Okay. And Commissioner Ortega, if you have anything to add, feel free to. Okay. All right, I'd be happy to yield for questions. You can call me anytime and ask me about any of these bills. I'll be happy to visit with you at any time, and the public as well, those watching as well.
Thank you, Sandra. Are there any comments or questions?
Thank you.
All right, our next item is item 8, partnership with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce for the Experimental Aircraft Association Air Venture event in Oshkosh, July 25th through 31st.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oshkosh is coming right around the corner. It'll be here before we know it. Obviously, this Oshkosh is going to be a little bit more special than some of the others because of the certain senior U.S. senator that is retiring, and this will be his last Oshkosh as a sitting U.S. senator. So as you all know, we go up to Oshkosh every year, exhibit and display as the state of Oklahoma for both tourism opportunities, business recruitment opportunities, and then that all culminates with a luncheon for Oklahomans that are up there at Oshkosh on that Saturday around noon in the tent over in the Nature Center. And so we want to make sure that this is the best send-off. We know Senator Inhofe has been instrumental, has been Mr. Aviation, as I would say, and he will be missed. Aviation will miss him, and I know every year he introduces a new bill for aviation aerospace activities, support, advocacy, fixing FAA's woes from time to time. And so I want to make sure that we're able to do that. So I'd encourage any of you that want to come up to Oshkosh this year. I know Commissioner Rainey, Commissioner Hunter, sometimes you do come up to Oshkosh from time to time, and Mr. Putnam too. So please encourage you to come do that. We want to make sure that this is the best Oshkosh Senator Inhofe's ever had, and would stand for any questions, but staff recommends approval for this partnership with our Department of Commerce and other Oklahoma entities.
Thank you, Grayson. Do we have a motion to approve the $5,000 partnership with the AA?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway.
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam.
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
The motion passes. The recommendation is adopted. Next order of business is item 9, financial reports. Chris Wadsworth, we're ready for your report, sir.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Starting out with the financial summary document, as at the end of February, we had an ending cash balance of $9.4 million. Encumbrances totaled $5.7 million. Estimated statutory revenue for the remainder of this fiscal year is $1 million, and outstanding reimbursements owed to the agency were $1.5 million. The amount of remaining expenditures in the airport construction program that could be incurred during this fiscal year total $4.2 million, assuming those grants are approved, which leaves us with an expected available cash balance of $2 million at the end of this fiscal year. And then our total fiscal year-to-date expenditures are just a little over $3.3 million. Moving on to the revenue document, total statutory revenue collected for January was $331,555. The report in front of you will show for February it was $302,889. Tax Commission actually posted the full February revenue collections yesterday afternoon, so the final amount for February was $421,811. Using that full February amount, total revenue collected so far this fiscal year as of the end of February was $3.9 million. That does compare to 2.1 for the same time frame last year, so we are up still about 80% over last year. And then finally, on the 3-year average document, with our total February revenue, we're about $1 million more than what our 3-year average is, and that gap has increased over the past 5 straight months. So we continue to see positive revenue, and hopefully that continues the last few months of this fiscal year. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments?
Nice position to be in. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. On to item 10, American Association of Airport Executives, U.S. Contract Tower Association Policy Board Strategic Planning Meeting. Mr. Nick Young. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I was able to go out to Nashville, Tennessee on February 3rd and 4th on behalf of Director Arties to attend the United States Contract Tower Association Policy Board meeting. As you know, 6 of our 9 towers across the state are contract towers, so it's very important that we keep apprised of anything that's going on across the country and at the Capitol in order to understand what may be happening and around the corner for our towers across the state. The meeting kicked off with a tour of a brand new contract tower, as you can see here on the slide. It's at John C. Toon Airport in Nashville, Tennessee. Just opened in September, following a $10 million project to construct that facility. As you may be aware, the airport took a direct hit in early 2020 from a tornado that wiped out several of their hangar facilities, and they've been in the rebuilding process for that. So the culmination of this tower, as well as their culmination of the rebuilding their hangar and airside facilities, are kind of coming to fruition at the same time. So it was a really fantastic opportunity to see basically a brand new airport and then them transition from an uncontrolled facility to a controlled facility with this new tower. The tour highlighted one of the key items that was discussed throughout this meeting and during several of our sessions, and that is the need for more radar displays in contract towers. This brand new tower, much like several other contract towers across the country, they do not have any type of display to assist with separation of aircraft. And so that's one of the items, is trying to add that to the minimum equipment list so that these don't get constructed without that ability to see that. So as it stands, they rely on direct line of sight and pilot positioning reports to create their separation for their airspace. So it still allows better capacity. However, we can see how that would be much greater safety factor if they were actually able to have those scopes and radar scopes, as I'm referring to. Old terminology there, old habit to break. Other issues impacting contract towers are similar to those that we experience elsewhere in our industry and frankly around the country. So the other item we spoke about a lot is workforce. Wages for contract towers have not increased, especially with the rise in inflation here lately. And of course, past few years have had us in a very interesting situation with the pandemic. And of course, other items here more recently that have added to issues there. But that's something that FAA has been able to address on their end, but the Contract Tower Association and that program hasn't necessarily been able to keep up. And so with that, the contract towers also compete for those FAA controllers. And the current FAA hiring process often leaves those that leave the contract tower for FAA towers, it leaves those contract towers short-staffed, and it gives them a very short window to hire and train their replacements. So that's something they're working with the FAA to better that process, get better lead times, so that they aren't left in the dark whenever these controllers decide to switch facilities and go from contract tower to FAA. The other item that the association is continuing to pursue is the passage of the Contract Act, and that would allow retired FAA controllers to switch over to contract towers without penalizing them for doing so by taking away parts of their pension. So still pursuing that, and feel like that would be a really good opportunity and a decent fix to find a good stopgap for that for the time being, while we're also pursuing those other wages and other items in order to compete better with the FAA towers and keep our airspace safe, because we have so many of those across the state. But, about 260 plus across the nation, adding and subtracting some there. But so several across the nation that are falling into that same boat. So at the end of the day, we're just trying to find these stopgaps, but also work for the long-term solutions there. And so with that, I stand for any questions.
Questions or comments?
Was there any talk about the remote towers? I know we kind of talked about they were looking to maybe do remote.
Certainly. So that discussion's still ongoing. I think the biggest hang-up there has been the pandemic, because the preliminary testing from the FAA with the preliminary sites in Colorado and Virginia, they just haven't been able to move through that timeline in the way that they would have expected. So they're still working in that direction. They're still having those preliminary discussions. But at the end of the day, we're essentially just waiting for that process to take place so that the FAA can get the data that they need to then go forth and certify the virtual towers. And so we'll start to see how that shapes up in the coming year and coming years.
Thank you.
Was there good FAA representation?
There was pretty good representation. This was the first time in the pandemic that I saw an actual FAA employee actually attend the event. And so that's not to say anything about them, but they have been on a travel hold because of the pandemic. And so it showed a great sense of urgency from the FAA side to say, okay, we understand that these are issues, we understand they need to be addressed. So it was, I think it was seen as a source of goodwill from the Contract Tower Association that they were able to bring in a senior FAA official on the contract tower side of things to have those high-level conversations so that they can take that back to their headquarters and really express what the Contract Tower Association is bringing to the table through their internal meetings and through their policy board meetings. So it was really good. There was one really good session focused with the dialogue with that representative. So good discussions happening there, and glad to see that they're certainly taking it seriously.
So there was receptivity as far as the cap for contract?
Yes.
'Cause that's a
it's-
huge barrier.
Yeah, there wasn't, he didn't have a lot of pushback, so he understood where the association was coming from and certainly was looking to be the flag bearer to be the conversation piece between the policy board for the Contract Tower Association and his FAA headquarters.
Good, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is item 11, the Aerospace and Aviation Education Program update. Paula?
Morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm happy to be here this morning to talk about the tremendous growth of aviation education in Oklahoma. First of all, I'd like to address item A, which is our OAC grant program. Appreciate Michelle, who updated the application. We worked to clean it up, and Sandra posted that. I believe we posted it in mid-January. So that is open on our website. The grant applications will be due May 31st. And as I am out visiting schools and entities, obviously that's the first thing on my list is to talk about our grant program. And I feel that we will have tremendous interest. It's really gratifying when you are able to say to schools and to entities, you know, here's a possibility if you're willing to work to build some quality aviation activities and programs. So that is open and will be open until May 31st. Secondly, one of our lead AOPA schools, Pryor Public Schools, offered to host the Mays County superintendents on February 14th. And so we had all of those superintendents in attendance, as well as Aaron Emberton, the Director of Education for the Cherokee Nation. And so I think we made some really good headway in the northeast part of the state in a very easy way, having them all at the Pryor campus, and I was able to talk to them. Ketchum has since signed on to teach the curriculum, as has Sequoia High School, which is part of the Cherokee Nation, so I'm very excited about that. On the next day, item B, I meant to address that first. The FAA grant that we received, we are working to put the timeline together for all of those activities. And those activities will be numerous in the next 18 months, and that's the time period we have to implement the grant. To begin with, we will host, as you already know, the AOPA teacher workshop, professional development at OU in July, and we'll speak further about that shortly. But July 11th through 14th, we will be at the University of Oklahoma, and we hope to have about 50 Oklahoma teachers, and then it will open up to the rest of the United States. Probably about 100 teachers that will be in attendance. And as I mentioned prior, item D, on the 15th, changed gears a little bit, and I was asked to speak at Moore Norman Technology Center about the new Choose Aerospace, the importance of the new Choose Aerospace curriculum. I think last month, in January, I mentioned to you that Choose Aerospace is junior and senior high school curriculum for maintenance. And that curriculum will then lead students into technology centers in Oklahoma that offer A&P certification. And so I believe we had about 50 folks in attendance at Moore Norman that day, which is encouraging, because right now it's just in the field test stages. It has not been out and adopted by schools at this point. We have 2 entities in Oklahoma that are field testing that Choose Aerospace, but it's very encouraging to see how many people were interested and aware of our need for A&P workers in the state. I then visited on the 17th of February, Rose State University. Malin is here, Malin Smith with Rose State. And we did some really good basic planning. Rose State would like to partner with schools, homeschool consortiums, perhaps build an aviation lab where other schools and entities can come in that don't have the wherewithal to establish a full-fledged lab, and maybe partner with them several days a week for their students to come into Rose State and to use the resources they have. So I think that was a very positive visit. On February 28th, I was with Kingfisher Public Schools with their superintendent and director of curriculum. I no more than made it back to Ada that they had applied to AOPA to teach the curriculum and had been accepted. This is the kind of welcome we are receiving when we go to these schools, because not only am I telling them about our grant, but I'm able to tell them about this free curriculum, and they are hungry for it. As I said, they were immediately interested and went ahead and applied that afternoon. On March 1st, I did go to southwestern part of the state, and Thomas Galloway from our office was there as well at the airport. So he joined me with the school superintendent, the high school principal, the city manager, and the airport manager, actually, for a very positive meeting with Granville Public Schools, a very small school district. And the superintendent looked at me and he said, Paula, all we're asking is that our kids they realize there's something after that high school diploma. And he looked up at me and he said, you and the Aeronautics Commission are doing noble work. And I thought, well, that may be a little grandiose, but he's right. Because so many of these schools want these things for their students, but don't know the pathway and don't know how to access the resources that are there. So that was very, very positive. They, too, are going to adopt the curriculum and offer Aviation Year 1 next year in Granville High School. And so I think that speaks volumes about what our rural schools are able to do with this curriculum. Last week, Mr. Wadsworth and I spent the day at the ODOT warehouse and had the joy of handing out the donated flight simulators that we spoke to you about at the last meeting. The 5 schools either sent either the superintendent came or sent the technology director or whatever to pick up the simulators. And so we got those distributed, and they were so appreciative and so thankful and so excited. Some have already put their own articles in the newspaper in their local cities and are really ready to move forward. So that was a positive day. And then yesterday, I spent the day at East Central University, where because of a grant that we provided for them for this year, they held OK is Aviation Day yesterday for about 100 students and AOPA students and teachers. I met with the teachers, and what was positive about that for me was that I feel like sometimes I go to a school, sign them up, get them excited, and then don't have the time to mentor them and help them build that program. And so I had the opportunity to do that yesterday and to spend the morning with the AOPA teachers there. The students were flying drones. They went out to the Ada Regional Airport and did a pre-flight check. They had a really, really good day. Before I close, I might, if you would permit me, to thank you for this opportunity, because one of the teachers yesterday from Paola, one of the tiniest schools, I think they brought half their high school population yesterday to East Central University. But it was great. She looked at me and she said, I've never had anything more fulfilling than teaching this as a teacher. And so I think the Granville superintendent is right. We are doing noble work for the industry, for the state of Oklahoma, and more importantly for me, for the kids in our state who need to know what these opportunities are. So it's gratifying for me, and I appreciate the opportunity. And obviously, I would stand for any questions you have about any of these events.
Thank you very much, Paula. Are there any questions or comments?
Good job.
Thank you.
How do we clone you?
If I could fly, I'd get an airplane and go.
Hint, hint.
We can take you out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Don't sit down.
Oh, that's right.
Moving forward, item 12, AOPA Professional Development Update
Yeah, we got
and
it.
event sponsorship. Paula, Director Arties, please.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So we know we're getting the AOPA professional development. This is the first time it's been outside of Frederick, Maryland, AOPA headquarters. So great opportunity for us in Oklahoma. The first day, which is going to be an optional day for teachers, we'll have flights in the morning, first flights. Doesn't have to be the first, could be a second or third. But free flights for teachers in the morning. We're going to go tour the Monroney Center in the afternoon, and then obviously have 3 days of professional development. In order to get that here in Oklahoma, we need to be able to contribute a little skin in the game beyond just Paula and I and the rest of the staff's time. So before you is a $5,000 sponsorship to host that event in Oklahoma. And of course, the caveat here is always that we will try and fundraise for these things first, and so we always use the Aeronautics Commission dollars last. And I know we have a great fundraiser sitting over here to my right, so your left. So I'll stand for any questions, and Paula, I think you might want to talk a little bit about the details of what they're going to be doing.
Right now, we have them scheduled for 4 days, July 11, 12, 13, 14, with 11 being an optional day. As the director mentioned, if they choose to, may come in for flights and to tour Monroney in the afternoon, probably. And so that will be a totally optional event for those coming in. I suspect most of our Oklahoma teachers will participate that, and we'll see those from out of state. We're hoping on Tuesday evening to host, I hate to call it a banquet, it sounds like an old term, but an event for the teachers that are here, and we'll be working to find the location and get that set up. They'll have 3 full days of, actually, it's interesting, I've had a chance to attend the professional development. They go through every lab that they're going to have to teach with the kids. And so it's hands-on for the teacher as if that teacher was a student. And it's a very positive. So that's 3 full days. We'll have meals provided for them. And because of the grant that we received from FAA, we are also able to help these teachers attend this at little or very little cost, or no cost for that matter. So we're looking forward to it. I think I will be going to AOPA this weekend. I'm on the steering committee there, and Frederick, and so I know that we'll find out some more details as we're working to build that program, but we were thrilled to be asked to be the first state to host the event.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve a $5,000 sponsorship?
So move.
Check. Go ahead.
Any discussion?
Question, who's gonna fly him?
You? No.
Yeah.
No, you're welcome too if you would like, but we have the gracious donation of the OU's aviation program is going to provide those first flights. So they will routinely provide, in the summertime, provide flights for the Sooner Flight Academy camp, for JROTC kids, and so that's what we have been able to, and I know the aviation program has agreed to donate the cost of those flights for the teachers that want to, but if you all, looking at these 2 gentlemen here that have a plane, and I know if this gentleman here had a plane, he'd want to come down. Mr. Hunter, if you have some planes you want to come down, we could also probably coordinate that too. I don't know how many teachers are going to sign up for first flights. I'm hoping we'll have plenty, but yeah, OU Aviation has donated the flights for that Monday morning.
And Norman Public Schools, I believe, is going to help us with transportation, busing teachers to Monroney in various locations.
Nice.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway.
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam.
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye. The motion passes, and the recommendation is adopted. Next order of business, item 13, 5-year airport construction program. Mr. Young, please give us your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, since it is March, it's about that time that we start planning for updating our ACP, our airport construction program, for the fiscal year 2023 to 2027 timeframe. So this will be a combination of projects that are already in the ACP that are just moving around a little bit based on available funding from the state or federal level. And it also includes new projects that we're looking to add. So if any point throughout this process, there are several things to go through here. Want to get you all the information that you need, so please feel free to stop me with any questions along the way. The first project we have before you is a recommendation to add a project in 2027 for Ada Regional Airport. And one thing I mentioned last year, I'll mention again just real here briefly at the front end. I'm going to refer to anticipated calendar years because those federal fiscal years, state fiscal years can confuse things a little bit. So if we need to elaborate on any of those, just wanted to put that up front. So at Ada Regional, in the 2027 timeframe, we're looking to reconstruct taxi lanes for their T-hangar area. This would be in conjunction with a local effort and project to completely reconstruct their T-hangars as well in order to update their facilities because those, the asphalt as well as the T-hangars out there is in pretty rough shape. So looking to do a full reconstruction there in 2027 for a total project cost just under $600,000 anticipated, with the commission providing about $250,000 of that with a mix of non-primary entitlement funding as well. Next project at Ardmore Municipal Airport. This is an existing project that we have in the ACP that we're looking to move up 2 years from 2025 to 2023. And this, again, just one of those that some are shifting back, some are looking to shift up. So that's in order to take advantage of some of those shifting back a little bit later on here. This one would shift up to start the phase 1 of the taxiway construction for their parallel taxiway for their primary runway. And that gives an overview of what we expect that to look like there as the first phase of this. As we can see, that's a very long runway, a lot of infrastructure that needs to go in there for the concrete out there. And so this is anticipated about a $5.4 million project, FAA discretionary and state apportionment funds with a mix of our $250,000 for the local sponsor match there. At Chattanooga Sky Harbor Airport, this is a new project we're suggesting for 2025. This is a state-only project to rehabilitate and reconstruct the apron. There's portions that need rehabilitation and others that need reconstruction. So looking to get that full apron up to par at about a total project cost of $400,000. State-only project at a 95.5 proposition for the commission's share anticipated about $380,000 on that. At Claremore Regional Airport, this is a project we're suggesting for, recommending for 2027 to rehabilitate Taxiway Alpha. And so as this deteriorates, we just want to make sure that we're keeping up with the regular rehabilitation project so that we don't have to reconstruct and we can get as long as of a lifespan as we can out of these pavements. It's anticipated at a $1.2 million project. Commission share would be half of the local match of that at $60,000. At C.E. Page Airport here in Oklahoma City, we have a couple of projects that we are recommending to add in about the 2026 timeframe. The first here is a project to replace the PAPIs on their primary runway and install PAPIs on their secondary runway. 4-box PAPIs on the primary being replaced, and then a suggestion that we add 2-box PAPIs on the secondary runway out there for their visual glide slope indicators. And total project cost is anticipated at $400,000. State-only prospect here at 95.5 with the commission share at $380,000. Second project we're recommending in that same time frame for C.E. Page is to rehabilitate Taxiway Alpha. Please forgive my transposition error on the slide there, but that is a rehabilitation, not a reconstruction. That's primarily going to be joint sill and spall repair on their Taxiway Alpha out there. Total project cost anticipated just under $650,000, with the commission share being half of the local match at around $34,000 on that. And at Durant Regional Acre Field, we're recommending a project in 2027 timeframe to expand their terminal apron. Over the past, well, as long as I've been with the commission, and I'm sure a little bit before, the commission has received several pictures and documents regarding the limitations they have for their apron out there. Anecdotally, I actually just received 2 more pictures about this last night from their consultant down there, as they've had some, it's just an ongoing issue that we've been trying to address. And so as they go through local planning efforts down there, they've agreed that this is a priority for them. So we are going to pursue some FAA funding for this expansion project. So we'll be pursuing discretionary funding. Total project cost a little under $4 million anticipated there, with the commission share half of the local match for that as well, so 5% of their 10% match funds for the FAA. And just to address one thing on here is these slides, I'm sure that you might notice that the local share and the commission share doesn't match right here. That's because on these slides, that also includes what they're putting forth as part of the design portion, whereas our match funding will come in for the construction grant. So again, just one of those things, want to make sure that you guys understand what I'm presenting before you and that the math lines up, because I know sometimes that can bring about questions. So, so that's the project we are recommending in the 2027 timeframe. At El Reno Regional Airport, there are 2 projects. We're simply looking to slide back 1 year to allow for more time for these projects. So the first one here being their terminal project at a total project cost about $1.5 million estimated with the commission share. And my apologies, it looks like we got those flipped around there. So the commission share obviously going to be our $500,000 total cost as part of our terminal building program, and the local share would be that $1 million there. So again, my apologies there on that slide. Just looking to slide this back 1 year in the ACP. The other project at El Reno we're looking to slide back 1 year is the rehabilitation of runway 1735. And this is a mix of OAC and FAA funds at a little under an $800,000 project to rehabilitate the runway out there. Again, with their runway, it's looking mainly for a joint seal and spall repair on that runway. And then the commission share on that, about $570,000. So a mix of non-primary entitlement and state funding for this project. Recommending an addition to the 2027 timeframe in the ACP is the construction of the terminal building at Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport. This is anticipated to be somewhere around a $2.5 million project. The commission share going to be the standard $500,000 as part of our terminal building program there. At Hobart Regional Airport, we have a new project we are recommending for the 2027 timeframe, and this is for a rehabilitation of their primary runway 1735. This will be a mill and overlay to address the concerns out there as their pavement condition index continues to drop. So we want to make sure that we address that before we have to go in and do a full reconstruction and address the subgrade there. So anticipating that to be primarily an FAA project at a $4 million prospect, with the commission covering half the local match there at $200,000. At Medill Municipal Airport, this is a project existing within the ACP that we're simply looking to slide back 1 year. And this is to afford them the opportunity to provide the necessary justification for the construction of the new runway. They're looking to construct a new runway just east of the existing runway to allow for the separation standards. Many of the things out there are not standard based on the design aircraft that they're looking to receive there and to allow to operate out there. They've had few that want to operate bigger twin engine, twin prop aircraft out there, and their widths and their separations are causing some issues. So they're still working on the justification process for that, and so we're just trying to support them in that by sliding this back 1 year so that we can get them what they need based off their the anticipated demand currently and on in the future. Obviously, one of the big things that's been a hurdle for some of these types of projects is with that justification is the change in current and anticipated demand that we've seen over the past 2 years. It's been really hard to provide what FAA needs in terms of the forecasts. Forecasts have been very tough to do since the beginning of the pandemic, so that's part of the reason that we'll see some of these types of projects slide back 1, maybe 2 years. The next project here is another existing project within the ACP at Max Westheimer Airport in Norman. We are looking to slide this back 2 years to calendar year 2026. And this is their project. This will be phase 2 of their taxiway rehabilitation project. And the reason we're sliding this back is to allow them the time to focus on their air traffic control tower they're pursuing right now. They're currently going through the preliminary siting study process. And so we're allowing the time for that study to complete. And then hopefully they can get that design constructed in a fairly short time frame, because I know they'd like to move forward with that as soon as they're able. And so we're just pushing this back so that they have time to recoup some funds so that they can provide the match that they'll need for this $5.2-ish million project. Again, the commission share on that being about half the local match at $250,000 anticipated for that. At McAllister Regional Airport, this is another recommendation to add to the ACP in the 2024 timeframe. They are looking to construct a new terminal building at a total project cost anticipated at $1.5 million, with the commission share there being the standard for $500,000. And so they're looking to update their facilities, quite old out there, and much easier to go ahead and build new. And really, they've had a lot of really good traffic out there. Chase Tyndall is now the airport manager out there, moved over from Ardmore Municipal, doing great things out there. So we're trying to help them plan and build for the future because they have a lot of exciting things going on out at McAllister. At Pawhuska Municipal Airport, we're recommending a project in 2023. Oh, my apologies. Thank you, Sandra. Mid-America Industrial Airport in Pryor, Oklahoma. Don't want to skip them for this one. This is another very important project out there for them. They're seeing with their industrial park great strides in who they're bringing out, the aircraft that are wanting to utilize their facility. And so as of right now, they have much larger jets than they previously used to handle that are wanting to come in. And so as of now, a lot of those are either having to go elsewhere or to come in very light and leave very light, which obviously leaves opportunity on the table for the airport and not being able to capture those fuel cells. So want to extend and strengthen their runway and then also lengthen the taxiway to support that as well so that they can handle the aircraft that are wanting to utilize the facility based on the businesses that they're bringing into that business park. We're recommending this in about the 2028 timeframe, so the very tail end of what our next iteration of the ACP will show. And as we can see, that's going to be just under about a $6.5 million project. That's primarily going to be pursuing discretionary and state apportionment funds through the FAA, with our portion being that 5% match at $300,000. Now to Pawhuska. This is a new project we're recommending for 2023, and this is to rehabilitate their runway. State-only proposition at $750,000, with the commission share at just a little under $713,000 there. And again, that's just because they're, as we see from our pavement condition index and that we have been tracking at the state level as well as the local reports, we want to address that before we get into that reconstruction phase. Keep what they have out there for as long as we possibly can. Next project here is another one of those that we're looking to slide back a year. This is at Robert S. Kerr. This is an extension that they've been pursuing. And then in addition to that, we also were looking to rehabilitate the existing runway at that same time so that we can just close the runway once rather than having two different projects at two different points in time. So kicking a little bit more of the state funding on that proposition. So instead of just the normal $240,000 match there, we'd be looking to do an additional state grant there to get a commission share at about $540,000 on that $5.5 million project. So again, that's to extend theirs out there, looking to push that back 1 year, again, for that justification aspect, to make sure that they have everything that they need to pursue that FAA funding, and so that we can get that moving on down the road. At Salazar Municipal Airport, we have a couple projects before you today. The first and the second one here essentially they were already in the ACP. We broke them out to show the funding a little bit, to confuse that a little bit less. We had a mix of state-only grants, FAA grants, so we broke out the electrical portion of this into approximately about a $600,000 project that we're expecting for 2023, so the same time frame we already had. And just breaking out to showing the electrical portion rather than everything all at once. So this is going to be a partnership between non-primary entitlement funds and commission funds. Commission share expected to be about $100,000 on that. And then on the next project here is what we previously showed as in conjunction with that electrical project. So this is for the taxiway, and then we added a little bit of scope there on the apron to make sure that we do a crack seal and seal coat on all of those things to preserve those as long as we can through a state-only grant at about $211,000, with the commission share at $95,500 at $200,000. Again, I know that doesn't work out to exactly 5%. What we wanted to show here is that if we go down to the exact dollar amount, I don't want you to think that that's the planning level number. We want to make sure we're representing the planning level number, not an exact cost whenever we're working with planning level costs. So again, that's the mindset behind it. We're always open to however you guys want to see that represented in the ACP. We're more than happy to do it, but that hopefully represents to both you, our commissioners, as well as our public, what our intentions are with these planning level numbers versus the numbers based on estimates. And finally, at Salazar Municipal, they are looking to add a project in 2027 for their terminal building. And so again, they're seeing a lot of really good growth out there, a lot of good movement. I was able to go speak to their Lions Club here a couple weeks ago, and there was a lot of good things happening out there. I actually told them to go speak to Paula because I know that their schools are interested in the program as well. And so this is to construct their terminal building in about that 2027 timeframe. Commission share again, $500,000, and they'll be looking to put in a little over $1 million, about $1.25 million for a $1.75 million terminal building out there in Sallisaw. Pardon me.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Excuse me.
There's more.
So excuse me, I should have wet the whistle a little bit. At Seminole Municipal, we are looking to move up a project 1 year to calendar year 2024 at for their parallel taxiway system. This is an ongoing project. We've been working to correct safety and standards issues out there. So again, just sliding this up 1 year, $3.7 million proposition with the commission share, half of the local match on that as well. Shawnee Regional Airport is a project existing in the ACP that we are looking to expand their terminal apron as well. We're just looking to slide this back 1 year to 2027. Total project cost and commission share remaining the same at $2.7 million total, and commission share at $125,000 on that project. At South Grand Lake, this is another project that we're simply moving to slide. It's an existing project. They're looking to slide that back a couple years if FAA discretionary funding will allow for that. So we're looking to represent their wishes in our ACP, and hopefully that all works out. But at the end of the day, for this particular project, it'll depend on when the funding is available from the FAA level and when we'd be able to partner with that. So just looking to move that back a couple years. At South Grand Lake, they typically pass the hat in order to come up with their local match. So that's simply to allow them more time to do that, as they've been running and gunning on a lot of different things that they're doing out there at South Grand Lake. So the total project cost still anticipated about that $5.8 million project level. These numbers come straight from the estimates from the engineers that are working toward this project, doing the design. And so these, again, are planning level numbers, but since we got those directly from their consultants, we went ahead and did the specific numbers on there. So again, still planning level. Didn't want anybody to think that these are locked in. But obviously, as we work toward those grants, we'll have those numbers based on bids at that point in time on down the road. At Tahlequah Municipal Airport, this is a state-only project that we're recommending for 2025. A mix of state and federal funding for 2025 at a total project cost of $900,000 with the commission share at $380,000. This is to rehabilitate the runway and install runway lights. The FAA funds primarily focusing on the runway rehabilitation there. The OAC funds primarily focusing on the installation of the runway lights. Again, doing this to realize some efficiencies, close the runway one time, and that way we can get it all done in one swoop. Weatherford Stafford Airport, I know they are currently going through the process of officially changing the name from Thomas P. Stafford to Weatherford Stafford. So I do anticipate by the May commission meeting, whenever we'll come forth to fully approve the new iteration of the ACP, that will be officially named the Weatherford Stafford Airport. And so in anticipation of that, we do recommend that we add a project to 2025 to replace their taxiway lighting system and to remove some pavement that is unusable out there. So they have a couple of connectors that are non-standard, as well as some unusable pavement on the taxiway. So I'd like to get that all done at one point in time, get it all shut down once and taken care of, brought up to standards, and then also install those taxiway lights at the same time. Mix of FAA and commission funding there. Total project cost just under $550,000. Commission share expected about $200,000 on that one. At Tulsa Riverside Airport, this is recommending an addition to the ACP in 2023 at the behest of FAA. This is the project to reconstruct the connector taxiways for runway 1 left, 19 right. This will be phase 2 of that project. Looks like as they are working through their initial phase with FAA and with us, we're seeing that scope's going to increase just a little bit there. And so FAA has agreed to add that to their discretionary funding list at a total project cost of about $3.3 million, with the commission share half of the local match, a little over $160,000 on that. Of course, it'll just be 5% of whatever that number winds up being as we work closer to scoping that out and getting the actual number based on estimates. And finally, the last project I have before you is at Wiley Post Airport. This is to rehabilitate taxiway Bravo, and then we are recommending that we add this to calendar year 2027. And so this will be a mix of FAA, state, and local funding. Total project cost estimated about $2 million with the commission share, $42,500. And as we can see there, the sponsor kicking in some extra funds just to make sure that they get that all done in one project rather than two. And with that, that's everything that I have before you to either add or move in the ACP currently. Staff recommends approval to enter into the public comment phase, and we would be looking to bring this to you for formal approval at the May meeting. I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Nick. Do we have any comments or questions from our commissioners?
That's a lot of work there. Impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, item 14, the Airport Construction Grant Program Consent Docket. Commissioners, remember that any or all of the items on this docket can be considered individually.
Excuse me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe we need a vote to move to the public
Oh, I'm
comment
sorry.
phase.
I move for approval.
Second. Can we call the roll?
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye. Next up, we have item 14, the Airport Construction Grant Program Consent Docket.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. We have two projects for construction grant program today, and you can vote them individually if you wish to. The first project that we have is at Kingfisher Municipal Airport. Next slide, please. Thank you. That they're gonna reconstruct the taxi lane and apron. The total cost for this project is a bit over $394,000, and it's gonna be funded with $374,000 of the state grant fund, and over $90,000, about $20,000 with sponsor matching. We have Mr. Bill Wright here. You have some word, I think.
I'd just like to, I'm with the Kingfisher Airport Authority, and on behalf of the Airport Authority plus the City of Kingfisher, I just want to extend our gratitude toward the Aeronautics Commission for the support that they've given us over the past 12 years or so in getting Kingfisher up to speed. We've made great strides due to y'all's support and Director Artie's and the support that we've got from the commission. So I just want to extend my thanks to you.
Thank you, Bill. Next project that we have is at Pauls Valley, that they're gonna construct a 10,000 square feet hangar. This is one of the part of the 2022 statewide hangar grant program. The total cost for this project is about $1.2 million, and gonna be funded with FAA $770,000 with FAA fund and ARPA, which is American Rescue Plan Act. Shy of $70,000, $300,000 with a state fund, and over $40,000 with a sponsor matching fund. I'm standing for any question you may have, but staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve this consent docket as presented?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye. Motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. The next order of business is item 15, various locations grant. Kelly Fincannon, you're recognized.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. We're recommending or requesting approval to allow staff to move forward and act as agent for the following cities, airports for the development of preliminary engineering reports and accepting Federal Aviation Administration grant offer. The estimated cost of the project is $376,000 and will be funded with $338,400 of federal grant funds and $37,600 of sponsor matching funds. And those airports include Cushing Municipal Airport for a parallel taxiway, Enid Woodring Regional Airport for apron improvements and a connector taxiway. And for Hobart Regional Airport, Muskogee Davis Regional Airport, and Salisaw Municipal Airport, all for runway rehabilitations. And I will stand for any questions or comments.
Do we have any comments, questions? Thank you very much, sir. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye. The motion passes. The recommendation is adopted. Next order of business is item 16, administrative rules for the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission. Michelle, please come forward. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Staff conducted the administrative rulemaking process as first proposed in the August 2021 Commission meeting for the OAC grant program. A copy of the proposed rules is in your packet. The rules will update the planning and programming process to establish the Commission's newly introduced loan program, and it now identifies a hangar as an acceptable construction project. Updates we included selection criteria and requirements necessary to be considered for the program. Funding information was updated to include state-level participation, and we also updated the terms and conditions so that it addresses a penalty should the sponsor fail to submit timely loan payments. A 30-day comment period was held with only one inquiry, and they were just asking for a copy of the proposed language. And a public hearing was held this past Monday, the 7th, and no one attended. I'll stand for any questions. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Aye.
Chairman Hunter.
Aye. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. Next order of business, item 17, the Aviation Art Contest. Sandra? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. This year, the Aviation Art Contest was held, and we had 560 entries. That is up significantly from our pandemic years, although our highest number was 1,200 in 2019. We're working on bringing those numbers back. We had 57 schools participate this year, and these are our celebrity judges. And to your left is Lance Lampkin with Max Westheimer Airport. That is Colonel Kevin Coyle, the 552 commander at Tinker Air Force Base. We have Director Arties there, who was not a judge but helped supervise the contest with us. And then that is Monica Riggs with United Dynamics. Ms. Riggs is a former Air Force member and is an engineer, and she's 25 years old. And she's an engineer for United Dynamics, and they reverse engineer super secret stuff. She's a great lady, and hopefully she'll be at Aero Oklahoma for you guys to visit with her. But we really thank her for giving her time. And that is also Representative Nicole Miller. Her husband is a pilot. And so we're going to go through just a little bit. I wanted to show you guys, I know you don't hardly ever get to see this. So I have to tell you that Andrea registered all of these contest entries, and she did a great job with that. And Michelle also helped supervise this judging, and we are super grateful for their time. So there's first, second, third, and honorable mention for the junior division. And on our website at oac.ok.gov/aviation art contest, you can see the names of the students. This is the intermediate division, and the judges had a really hard time separating all of this out, but they did a great job. So there's intermediate, and then here is the senior division here. So I'm happy to yield for any questions. You know, we wonder if our art contest touches lives and matters, and I think Ms. Keedy will tell you that it does. Young minds are inspired to consider aviation and aerospace as a career, and just consider the people that are working for our industry. And so we are happy to continue this contest and look forward to continuing to work with NISEO, who is our national sponsor. I'll
Have
be
you been
happy
able to broaden the scope as far as you have a lot of entries, but across the state, there's always been kind of gaps on who participates?
There is gaps, and I'll tell you why. Well, during the pandemic years, teachers told us that they had difficulty getting paper and art materials to their students, and also getting them to do that. And hopefully, as Ms. Keady goes around and ignites aviation throughout the state with the AOPA program, that will increase our entries. There's other contests too.
To be able to say how spread out we are.
One of the things that we're working on right now, Chief Wadsworth is helping me with this. Tulsa International has asked to display the artwork in their terminal. So we'll be working towards that, and we're excited about that. Alexis Higgins and her staff is going to display the art, so we'll be working on that. So look for that this summer. I'm happy to yield for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Next up is item 18, a review of upcoming aviation and aerospace events. Sandra?
Aero Oklahoma is March 30th from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be an exciting year for Aero Oklahoma. So we haven't had an in-person event since 2019. In 2019, we had 1,000 people come. We had over 200 military service members there from 3 Air Force bases. And this year, we are looking probably to have more. We have 3 sponsors that have come on board with us at ambassador levels. We have AAR, and also ATC is with us out of Altus, and they have an office in Edmond as well. Commissioner Ortega, and also Pratt Whitney has come on board with us. So what those sponsorships does is it pays for lunches for lawmakers and for our military service members. We are going to have a military service assembly just for VIPs, lawmakers, and military service members, and they're going to go like they did in 2019 and just talk about issues that our military service members face while serving here in Oklahoma. I think that's really important that we get that feedback from those military service members. Colonel Sebrin is going to be our military speaker that day. Governor Stitt has agreed to speak, as well as Speaker McCall. We are working on an invitation to the President Pro Tem, Greg Treat of the Senate. And we have the I don't know his title, Grayson, the number 2 person at American Airlines is going to speak on commercial aerospace. So we're excited to have them in town, and we are going to facilitate meetings with the governor with them as well. So I have lots of homework for you all to do. I'll be contacting you. I've already spoken with Commissioner Rainey, Commissioner Putnam, and Commissioner Ortega. So we have so much to do in the next 3 weeks. So I'm happy to yield for any questions. And I think I have a commercial, so to speak, that ODOT has helped us with, and so Eric's going to play that for us. Thank you, Eric.
I hope you'll join us at Aero Oklahoma Day at the Capitol on March 30th. I'll be bringing a delegation of Tulsa aerospace companies to the Capitol to talk with our legislators about the important steps they can take to support our industry. We'll have representatives from Spirit Aerosystems, American Airlines, Tulsa Tech, and Christensen Aviation representing a broad spectrum of our industry. We look forward to seeing you there and appreciate your support.
So being in the Transportation Cabinet has its benefits and perks, and we have their video team that helped us with this. They went to Tulsa International, and they were able to film on the flight line, and so we thank them for putting that together for us. And they will be with us at Aero Day, so we're working on broadcasting that live, and we are going to have lots of information coming from Strategic Communications as far as their audiovisual team, and they'll be with us, so we're excited about that. I was trying to think. Oh, yes. So I have 7 ambassador teams that will be coming, and Tulsa has 8 different companies that are coming out through their ambassador team. We also have an aerospace team. We have an emerging technologies team, which will encompass the Monroney Center, and James Grimsley will be with us from the Choctaw Nation. So we're really excited about that. Director Artis has been directing me on inviting those people, and so we're working on that as well. I'd be happy to yield for any questions. It's just a very big day for us, but we really want, we are the little plane that could at the state capitol, so we really want to have a good showing there.
That's awesome. Do we have any questions or comments?
Sounds good.
Thank you, Sandra.
I have 2 more.
You have 2 more.
I don't think I'm back.
Can anyone just show up that wants to attend the event?
Yeah, so
or
this
do
is
they need
open to the
plan ahead?
public.
Okay.
Thank you for asking, Commissioner Rainey. For those watching publicly, this is their day. This is their industry day. Just like they have Ag Day at the Capitol, today is Transportation Day at the Capitol, today, this day is, and we want industry to come out. We have 150 students coming to come out and interact with those companies, and we really want our pilot community to come out. I'm working with Commissioner Putnam. The EAA chapter will be there. The Oklahoma Pilots Association will be there. The 99s will be there, and we have lots of industry coming as well. So, yeah, we want everybody to come. There's an Eventbrite, so if you just do a web search for Aero, Oklahoma, the Eventbrite comes up, and it's free to attend. We ask them to register so that we can disseminate information to them about the day and about parking and things like that. So we'd like for you to tell all your friends, please share it. You can go to our social media platforms, and if you go into Facebook, there's an actual event, so you can share that event, and we would invite you to go and share that on your personal pages as well. Thanks, Andrea. I think we've gotten there. I don't think the clicker's working. If you'll advance. Oh, okay. That's okay. What I had left for you was MRO Americas is in April, and there was one other thing on that slide. Stillwater, yes. And also Stillwater is having a fly-in, I think it's April 2nd. Is that right, Commissioner Rainey? So Stillwater was supposed to have a fly-in, and it was canceled due to weather. So I think it's the first weekend in April. So we'll be there supporting them with that. Commissioner Rainey's helping me.
I believe that's right.
I would encourage you to go. And I don't know if a lot of people here at the commission are using Facebook, but I would encourage you to join Fly Oklahoma. It's a page that we run. It's a group that we run. It has about 700 to 800 pilots in there. We talk about pilot stuff. So I'd be
April 7th.
April 7th.
April 2nd, 11 to 4.
April 2nd. Perfect. Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Sandra. All right, now we have item 19, concluding remarks. I'll entertain any remarks regarding agenda items at this time. If there are none, on to item 20, announcement of next meeting. Our next meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, April 13th in the Explorers Room at the Stafford Air and Space Museum in Weatherford. That address is 3000 Logan Road in Weatherford, if anybody needs to know.
In Weatherford, interesting.
Okay, that's good.
At the airport, right?
We'll fly.
Yeah, fly in.
The museum.
And maybe a tour afterwards, potentially. So keep a little time on your calendar for the early afternoon for a time frame.
Item 21, is there any new business? Hearing none, I move to adjournment. Declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.